Floodwaters rose around the Coast Guard's boat, but thankfully, the homeowner was safe. Her look of relief turned to horror, though, as she glanced back at the trailer. Cries filled the air, and the rescuers realized their job was far from done. Despite initial fluctuations in its strength, when Hurricane Florence hit the Carolinas in September 2018, it was ferocious enough to bring chaos in its wake. That's because by September 10, 2018, experts classed it as a major hurricane. Florence was deemed to be a Category 4 by the Saffir-Simpson scale, in fact. Even at its weakest, though, Florence still possessed dangerous winds capable of tearing trees out of the ground. As the storm increased in power, it hit brief peaks of 140 miles per hour, and while hurricanes are famous for their wind force, other disasters accompany them too. For instance, if the hurricane in question is a squall, the storm might also result in flooding. Florence was classed as such, and the ensuing heavy rainfall led to rising water levels. Consequently, some areas across North and South Carolina experienced power failures and lethal deluges. In fact, the water levels in certain Carolina areas broke records, reaching heights of 30 inches or more. It was enough to isolate Wilmington completely and render major roads such as US Route 70 impossible for cars to navigate. North Carolina alone experienced $10 billion of property damage, but the biggest cost was in human lives. By the lowest estimate, Florence's wrath caused the death of 53 people. In addition, agriculture businesses endured heavy losses, particularly with regards to their animals. Farms suffered heavy damage to livestock, and not just from animals washing away in the floods. Those creatures that managed to stay on dry land faced their own battles for survival as well. For instance, some found themselves stranded without food, and no way for their carers to reach them. It's estimated that 5,500 bovines died following Florence's arrival, and farms lost a massive 3.4 million poultry animals. Then there were the domestic pets caught up in the rising waters sweeping through their homes to consider. Thankfully, though, they weren't all facing the disaster alone. Rescuers, both paid and voluntary, swept storm-damaged areas searching for trapped animals. Some of them were pets fleeing the increasingly deep waters. Others were stuck in cages, like the ones that U.S. Coast Guards encountered on September 16, 2018. Josephine Horn was just one citizen among the many whom Coast Guards rescued from Columbus County, North Carolina. She and her spouse, Jackie, actually missed the initial flooding by staying with relatives. Then, when the worst of the storm seemed to have passed, they went back to their trailer. As a result of Florence's fluctuating nature, however, the Horns became caught in another round of flooding. It looked like everything was fine. It was fine, Josephine told USA Today on September 17, 2018. It's like this came out of nowhere all at once. The U.S. Coast Guard Marine Safety Unit in Paducah managed to save the Horns. Unfortunately, though, they had another concern. The family kept beagles, 11 of them to be exact, and the rising floodwaters had trapped them in a locked cage. In addition, Horn's neighbor also had 4 pit bulls stranded in the storm. Chief Steve Kelly led the rescue operation to save both families' fur babies. Hurricane Florence had already rendered the dogs waterlogged for some time, so they were desperate to escape. Footage of the rescue uploaded to YouTube by USA Today on September 16, 2018 reveals events as they unfolded. It shows the Coast Guard wading through waist-deep water, carrying beagles to the safety of their red boats. Thankfully, they have little trouble reaching the dogs. The real trouble is keeping them on the boat when they're free, in fact. The dogs are very excited that people have to come to save them and seem ecstatic to meet all of the rescuers. The animals also struggle to keep their footing on the waterproof surface of the Coast Guard's vessels. Crystal Hayes of USA Today describes the scene as she's watching it. "We have 6 beagles, and they're still working on it," the reporter says, "but they're falling off the boat and they keep jumping off." She goes on to add that it's, quote, "probably one of the better rescue missions," end quote. Hayes reveals one catch though. The dogs keep peeing on the boat. The rescue mission quickly becomes a beagle, wrangling one, as the Coast Guard shepherd more dogs onto the boats. Even so, it's surely hard to have dampened spirits when so many doggos surround you. Taylor Elliott, one of the crew's members, confirmed as much to USA Today. "We got a full boat of beagles," he laughed. "This is the best day of my life." The dogs' antics certainly seem to have kept their rescuers entertained throughout their mission. In all seriousness though, the pooches were lucky that the Coast Guards arrived in such a timely fashion. The dogs would have drowned if we showed up any later, Chief Kelly told WPSD News on September 16, 2018. Thankfully, the rescue was a complete success. After their mission, Kelly's team headed off to help more survivors of Hurricane Florence. The Coast Guards were safe in the knowledge that thanks to them, the dogs would live to wag their tails another day, Horn told USA Today. Thank God, there are some things you can't replace.